What's up, guys? It's Caleb Giddings here, and today we are talking about the one thing that you guys are all actually interested in hearing me talk about, which is the new IDPA rule update for 2022. That's right, the International Defensive Pistol Association, aka IDPA, has put out some new rules, and the good news is that appendix carry is in. And now that we've established that, I do want to reference you guys to this old video of mine, which is going to show up here in this box, assuming I do all the things correctly, where I talked about this, where I talked about why IDPA should add appendix carry and why they should add 15 rounds for stock service pistol and enhanced service pistol. And then they did that. And it was funny because at the time, when that video got posted on like some IDPA groups and things like that, you know, a lot of the fuddy-duddies were like, oh, appendix carry, blah, 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 15 rounds, blah, blah, blah. But now it's here, so you old people can suck it, because I was right. I am enjoying this a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, look, everything I said in that original video is still true, and it's something that I believe in. I believe that appendix carry makes the sport of IDPA better. I believe that having 15 rounds in at least one of the divisions makes the sport more interesting. And so now, you know, I'm gonna stop gloating, but I was right. And we're going to get into actually talking about the rule changes, which ones matter, and how they're significant. And then the one rule change that I found that is, I don't think it's a good one, but I'm willing to take it on the balance with the other changes. So, first rule change, appendix carry. Yes. So basically, IDPA clarified the rules so that if you're using an outside the waistband holster, it's still traditional IDPA positions, kind of from your 2 o'clock to your 4 o'clock, right? But now, if you're using an inside the waistband holster, your allowable positions go from 12 o'clock, which they define as your center line, all the way back to 4 o'clock, kind of that traditional IWB hip carry. What this means is that if you, like me, like Scott Jedlinski and Ernest Langdon and John Johnston and Gabe White, and I could keep naming trainers that appendix carry until my face changes color, so I won't. If you're like me and a gajillion other people and you appendix carry, this means you can now run your carry gear, your actual carry gear with a closed front concealment garment at an IDPA match and count for scoring. If you've got a Beretta 92 and a mag pouch, you can stick them here. You know, if you want to show up with a sidecar holster like some kind of weirdo, you can do that. It's all legal now. And that is a hugely positive benefit for IDPA because as the concealed carry sport, letting people run their actual carry gear is important. And a couple of caveats. There's one person I know, is a dear friend of mine, who her appendix carry rig is actually past 12 o'clock because she's a very slight woman and she's trying to carry a significant amount of gun down there, and that's the setup that works for her, is it's over here. If you do that, your rig's not legal. I'm sorry. I know that there are more than just her that does that. They're outliers. You know, for the vast majority of people, men and women that are carrying an appendix, good news, your carry setup is legal. Caveat, if you're one of the people that uses the Filster Enigma, the way the rules are worded, the Enigma is not technically legal because holsters in IDPA must attach to an IDPA legal belt, and that IDPA legal belt must go through all but 2 of your belt loops. Now, there is a workaround for this. If you have an Enigma, you could probably put a clip on the outside of it, which I know kind of defeats the purpose of Enigma, but put a clip on the outside of it, attach that to your IDPA legal belt, and now your holster is legal. Now, that's all we're gonna, and oh, the other thing on appendix carry is it also changed your mag pouch position. So most people who carry AIWB also keep their mags up here in the front. You can do that now too. You can also do that if you use a revolver, which is great. I love that. All right, now our second big rule change for IDPA is capacity increases for 2 divisions. Stock service pistol has gone up to 15 rounds, which is a change I've been agitating for a while. And compact carry pistol, which is like your Glock 19 and smaller division, has gone up to 10 rounds, which is a change I think really makes sense. So SSP at 15 rounds, stock service pistol, these are your production guns, right? And with these production guns, you can now load up your magazines to a reasonable number of rounds for those magazines. This is great. This is great. It makes the sport make more sense if people are carrying closer to the actual capacity of their guns. Same with CCP. It never made sense to me when I would be shooting my Beretta APX Centurion in CCP to load the gun to 8 rounds. It has a 15 round mag. Why am I using half the capacity of this gun when I could at least put 10 in it? 10 makes sense. 10 puts it where it should be. I would love for all the divisions to go to 15, but that's never going to happen. But having stock service pistol and CCP go up to 15 and 10 respectively is a great thing. I think you will see stage designers do a lot more 17 and 18 round courses to force SSP into a reload, or you'll see downloaded starts more often for the first mag to force SSP into a reload. I think there's going to be a little bit of pettiness about that initially, but things will balance out over time. Obviously the 15 round capacity makes SSP attractive to people who want to load, more ammo in their guns. One of the interesting changes that didn't happen, and I did agree with it at first, but then I thought about it and I understood it, was that IDPA's carry optics division remained capped at 10. And you think, well, that's silly. In USPSA carry optics, you can load 140 millimeter mags, 22 rounds, go to town. Yes, but the whole reason it didn't happen is because IDPA's carry optics rules are based off of their enhanced service pistol rule set. An enhanced service pistol was originally conceptualized as a place for Browning high powers and 9mm 1911s. And I think that IDPA wanted to keep it somewhat closer to their roots, even though over the years it's evolved more into a limited light for IDPA. I think they wanted to keep it closer to their roots so that the people with single stack 9mm 1911s could stay competitive in the division and, also still sort of meet that concealment requirement, because you could make a 170 millimeter single stack 9mm magazine that would hold a bunch more bullets, but I would love to see carry optics go to 15 rounds. I'd love to see ESP go. I would love to see ESP, carry optics, and SSP all go to 15 rounds. I really would. But what I think is interesting now is this has created a very interesting sort of heads up shoot off between carry optics and SSP, because carry optics is still at 10 rounds. Everybody was shooting carry optics. It was the most popular division at the last every IDPA match I've been to. But now in SSP, you can load more rounds in your gun. And I'm interested to see how that affects sort of the high overall balance, which obviously isn't a thing that IDPA cares about. It's not a real thing and no one cares except for the people who are shooting IDPA and who do care. Anyway, I understand why carry optics didn't go to 15. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it makes sense explained in a rational framework. So far we've now covered the Appendix carry, 15 round magazines. We have a couple more good rules, and then we're going to get to the one bad rule. The next good rule is you no longer have to retain an empty magazine if there's a round in the chamber. So IDPA, for years and years, in an effort to eliminate gaming, made it so that if you had, let's say you have 10+1 in your gun, right? And you fire at 5 targets, 2 shots each, and you now have a round in the chamber and an empty magazine, right? In USPSA, you would just yeet that magazine on the ground, do an in-battery reload, and be back to firing because you're counting your rounds in your head. In IDPA, if you did that and you let that magazine hit the ground and didn't do a tactical reload and didn't retain it, they would give you a penalty because they were trying to treat it like you were gaming the system, and even though you knew that mag was empty, you should have done a reload with retention. So what most people did was they would just fire that extra round super fast. They would go, if I had a 5 target array, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? Really quick, dump that round, and then move on to whatever I needed to do and do a slide lock reload instead. For a while, they tried to penalize that with a round dumping penalty. That went away. So in the inevitable progression of things now, if you're counting your rounds and you go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 out, mag in without, locking your slide to the rear or anything else, you're good to go. And that's a good rule. It is a sensible rule because we need to sort of get past the idea that people can't shoot and count at the same time. Lots of people can shoot and count. Yes, there are plenty of documented instances of guys in gunfights being like, I had no idea how many rounds I fired. There are also documented instances of guys in gunfights going, I fired exactly 5 rounds, So let's move past this idea of I can't count and shoot at the same time, especially when I'm just playing a game like IDPA. Anyway, it's a good rule. I don't have to retain an empty mag. So if I've got, 10 plus 1 in the gun and I fire 10 and I just have that 1 in the chamber, send that mag and reload. This did make me think of something interesting though. Because SSP is 15 plus 1, you're not going to see a lot of that empty mag in battery reloads in SSP because most IDPA courses of fire are even numbers of rounds, right? So you'll see a lot of guys just shoot 16 and do a slide lock reload. I didn't even think of that. Interesting. Anyway, that's like a strategic conversation to have later that I should probably think through. Regardless, back to the next good rule in IDPA, and this is one I really, really like because this one says in the match administration handbook that clubs must follow all IDPA rules to be an IDPA club. Why is this important? This is important because there has been a lot of old guy fuddy-duddy pushback against things like Appendix carry and 15 rounds and stuff like that. And in the past, IDPA has struggled with individual match directors going off the reservation and just having their own version of the rule book, basically, and kind of doing whatever the hell they wanted to do, regardless of whether or not what they wanted to do was supported by the IDPA rules. The adding it to the match administration handbook that you have to follow all the rules or you don't get to be an IDPA club is good. Do I think that it will stop certain types of match directors from, trying to ban Appendix carry at their matches? No, I don't think it will, but it gives shooters like me a venue to actually up-channel complaints and be like, hey, this club's not following the rules. Will that make a difference? Also, probably not, but why it's important is because it at least shows an attempt from IDPA leadership to hold those sort of rogue match directors and other characters accountable. I like that. I like it a lot. And now we come to the last rule that we're going to talk about, which I don't like, and I think it's a bad rule, but I am willing to take it on the balance because all of the other rules are good and I like them. And that rule is in the 2017 incarnation of IDPA, fault lines, which were used to designate positions of cover, extended to infinity regardless of the actual physical length of whatever they used for the fault line. How this played out in reality is shooters, knowing that fault line extended to infinity, could sometimes game certain shooting positions where they would be able to technically be behind cover behind the fault line, but be exposed to more targets maybe than the stage designer thought they should be exposed to, and they could clean out arrays from positions or something like that. It gave the shooters more choice, and I'm always a big advocate for shooters being able to solve the stage in the way that they see fit. What this rule change does is it means that the fault line and thus the position of cover is only delineated by the length of the actual sticks or marks that are on the ground. It eliminates some shooter choice options, which I'm not in favor of, because again, I don't like the idea of showing up to a match and basically being told, here's how you shoot it. It's more of a drill or a standard than like a problem that I'm trying to solve, right? And in recent years, IDPA has very much been not that. It's been, stages with creative scenarios, stages where shooters had choices and shooters have options. And I think it will retain a lot of that flavor. It's just this limiting the fault lines to basically the length of the stick does take away some shooter options. And I am opposed to that. However, I am not here to be a Debbie Downer because 15 rounds in SSP, 10 rounds in CCP. Oh, and we got weapon mounted lights too. If you've got a weapon mounted light on your gun and you want to mount that, go with God, you can. So I got 15 rounds in SSP, I got 10 rounds in CCP, I got weapon mounted lights, I got Appendix carry, and I got mag dump and go with, as long as the mag is fully empty, I will take all of that every day of the week in exchange for one bad rule that I think is kind of silly. And not even that bad. Like I really was looking hard for something to be like, I don't like this one thing. And that was that one thing. I hope you guys have enjoyed this 15-minute video of me explaining the IDPA rules, which I just want to point out, I shot all in one take with no cuts. I'm Caleb Giddings. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.